Welcome to Horns Up, this time coming to you from Starbucks. It's not a sponsorship.
Hashtag not sponsored. You beat me to that. But yeah, I think this is becoming one of our favorite places to record.
Yeah, for those of you who are keeping track, we recorded the Eric Rutan interview here. I mean, Eric Rutan didn't come to Starbucks in Bombay. We were here. He was in his studio.
Yeah.
But So if you hear a lot of coffee making noises or a lot of crowd noises, it's not us. It's just the fact that we are recording this in Starbucks.
Or just smooth jazz, which is a complete contrast to the music we'll be talking about.
Welcome back, Peter.
Yeah,
How does India feel now that you've gotten a taste of Down Under? How are you, mate?
Hot, noisy.
Have you had enough of Foster's?
No.
What about Macca? No, sorry, Mac. What do they call McDonald's there?
Macca.
Yeah, Macca.
But strangely enough, Foster's is not even like a popular beer there. It's all marketing, man.
I thought it was Australian for beer.
Yeah. No, I don't think, if you go to a beer store and ask someone for a Foster's, they just look at you like, what are you talking about?
They just completely disown you.
No, they don't even know what a Foster's is. And the strange part is because I went to a huge retailer of alcohol, I went and I found a picture and I wanted to put it up saying on Instagram, I found the only Starbucks. I mean,
you really like Starbucks, don't you?
It's stuck in my head. But yeah, I found the only Foster's in all of Australia, or Perth at least. But
okay. Did you get any chance to look into the local metal scene or go into a record store? I know you snapped a lot of pictures of vinyls.
Yeah, dude. So I was in a nearby city of sorts called Fremantle. It's more to the south, near the sea. And I just happened to chance across a record store while passing by from the train station. So I said, okay, I made a mental note to come back there. Dude, the guy had more vinyl than CDs. So clearly the vinyl revolution it's not a revolution. Vinyl is here to stay, I would say. And one thing that really struck me, and that's why I sent you the pictures, is just how fucking beautiful the artwork looks, man.
Of course, you blow it up to that size.
Yeah.
And especially, so you sent me pictures of Wellerthak and Pig Destroyer's head cage.
Yeah.
That artwork itself is sexy. And then when you blow it up to that size, of course it's going to look fucking epic. Man. I would love posters of that shit on my walls. I have a lot of posters of Maiden and Metallica and stuff, easily purchasable posters in Bombay where you get them crossword and stuff.
Yeah.
So I spent all my college money on those kind of things and I still have them. I still hang them up on my walls.
Yeah.
So sucker for good artwork, especially when it's nice and big.
Yeah. Unfortunately, since I went for a family thing, there were a couple of gigs, but just because of sheer distance and it was basically I lived in the suburbs and all the gigs were happening in the city and connectivity between public transport and stuff like that is not that great there, surprisingly.
Bombay wins over Perth.
I agree, man. At least you can
we
make
have to fucking go to Thane every time you want to see a black metal gig.
Dude, but one thing it makes you appreciate in a certain way is that, even at 1 o'clock in the night, you'll find a way to get home. You're not stranded.
Exactly, yeah.
So, I mean, I've done those Thane gigs and come back in the middle of the night.
Yeah, man, same here. Anyways, so what are we going to do today? Well, we don't really have an interview lined up. So if you're looking for thoughtful discourse with some intellectual musician, you're not going to get that. But what you are going to get is thoughtful discourse with intellectual banter between Peter and I as we discuss what we've been listening to over the last few months. We haven't done this in quite some time.
Yeah, and I think that's why it was important for us to do this, because it also becomes an interesting way to not only discover new music, but also just chat about music.
Yeah,
which is
we
why
haven't really done that in a long period of time.
Yeah.
The filter that I've applied is I haven't listed any of the albums of the people that we've already had on the show.
Yeah, it would be really tough to kind of add those because we've talked so much about it, and I thought let's take this opportunity to talk about music because, I mean, both of us one of the reasons we started this podcast is we constantly listen to music, and we're constantly listening to new and different music. And considering the styles of music we listen to also, that what makes this
of course.
exercise
Yeah.
a lot more fun.
Okay, cool. So that's kind of setting the stage for what we are trying to do today. So let's get straight down into it. Peter, you want to go first?
Yeah. So the first band I've been listening to a lot lately is a supergroup of sorts. They're a band called Viltmas. Their album Something Wicked Marches In. Now, the reason I call this a super group of sorts is you have the lineup of David Vincent, the ex-Morbid Angel, Blasphemer from Mayhem, and Flo Minor from Cryptopsy. Now, with the lineup like that, there's a certain kind of expectation.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I know a lot of people were disappointed to see David Vincent doing country, but he kind of redeems himself with this. So the way I describe it is, crushing mid-tempo death metal.
Okay.
And, it really surprised me. And one of the good things about them, you're not using any or coming with the baggage or the tags of their previous bands, is that it sounds better than way of the recent releases of the big names of death metal, man. So it's a pleasant surprise. It's out on Season of Mist. That's how I kind of got hold of it.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely an album to check out. Quite enjoyable if, you're into the death metal scene.
So you're talking mid-paced. Is it like, is it groovy or is it...
The main guy who's written the album, in a way, is Blasphemer. So
Okay,
you
alright.
can expect, a bit of the black metal influence.
Uh-huh.
You can't see too much of it. There is a slight undercurrent in there. But yeah, when you hear David Vincent's voice, it's kind of like distinct, man. You can't miss out on that.
Cool.
So yeah, that's my first album I've been listening to.
Okay. It's interesting that you mentioned a supergroup because I have a... It's not a supergroup per se, but I'm going to be talking about Shapti.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of this band.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So Trebling and Sean is the debut album from Shapti. It's a band that features members from Woods of Ypres, Throssenblatt, Obsidian Tongue, Falls of Roros, and Panopticon's live lineup. So again, a motley crew of musicians who are associated with pretty big bands before starting this project. Now, their press note, and this is how I chanced about it, their press note stated that the band's mission was to, and I quote, eschew gimmicks, trends, and posturing in favor of focusing on more direct pursuits. That's gibberish that 90% of all metal bands kind of use.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Something just compelled me to spin this album, and I'm a better man for it. It's an absolute banger, a crazy concoction of tech death, raw black metal, and atmospheric black metal, all somehow managing to fit together.
Yeah.
And it's something that's fit to be played loud and heavy, especially when you're raging in traffic, which is like fucking, I don't know, 3 hours of my day almost. Yeah, so that's Shapti, Trembling, and Sean.
I did get the promo for this, so I remember listening to the single, which was quite interesting. So I'm gonna go review this back again. On to my next album I've been listening to. It's don't let this name kind of fool you, because the first time even I heard the name Leather Glove, I was like, glam metal, glam rock, huh? And considering the one, wow. So the album is Perpetual Animation. Another thing, the thing that's cool about it, it's the solo project of the American sound engineer Greg Wilkinson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you might have heard a lot of music that he's kind of produced. The one-line description I can kind of come up with for this is the gnarliest album I've heard this year.
Gnarliest?
Yeah, because the production is just so... again, another... If I could may say this, I felt like taking a bath after listening to this album. I
felt that dirty and that grimy.
Yeah, and
and it's named Leather Glove.
Yeah, it has the death metal vocals and riff, but it has this real sludgy tempo, like slowed down.
Okay.
So yeah, man. And the thing is, I just put it as like simply death metal, but if you kind of scratch the surface furthermore, you'll find influences of grindcore, sludge, crust. The list kind of goes on. So it's really kind of packed. So yeah, I mean, I quite enjoyed it in short bursts, of course. But yeah, it's just 30 minutes. So yeah,
This thing has Leather Glove has so far really piqued my interest. I'm definitely going to be checking it out.
Yeah.
Is it available easily, or do you have to be like
it's available.
super underground niche
No.
find it?
That I mean, that's the beauty I find about like using stuff like Bandcamp and all. Everything's kind of available now.
Cool.
So, yeah.
All right. Okay. So next up, I'm talking about something that's also undergroundish, but I'm guessing it's such a good album that it's found its way to mainstream success as such. It's a band from France. It's called Fange or Fangi. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Okay.
The album's name is Punir.
Okay.
Not Paneer, but
Okay.
Punir. It's released by Throat Ruiner Records.
Okay.
Okay. This was one album that I judged purely on the basis of its cover.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It features the portrait of a man ripping his own intestines.
Right.
Right.
That's
So
quite-
suffice to say automatically that Punir is abrasive, noisy, and an absolutely bone-crunching mix of hardcore sludge and black. So you know what happens when you throw away your regular mug of coffee and instead just snort or swallow raw coffee beans?
Yeah.
You do? I don't. Like I've never done that, but I would imagine the effect to be similar to listening to this record because it's really bitter in that sense. I mean, it's not a sound that you would immediately be drawn to, but it'll fucking leave you bursting with energy.
Right.
It's such a loud, raw, power-packed mix of metal.
Right.
Yeah.
This
Immediately, I was like just bowled over by. Once the album got over, I was like, dude, holy shit, this is my Energizer Bunny.
Okay, this sounds like the pick me up I need.
Yeah, definitely.
Or maybe the album for a Monday morning.
I mean, Starbucks should have these guys on board as their mascots, just to wake everybody the fuck up.
Right. For my next pick, I've got a band that I was actually really excited, and I'm surprised I forgot to mention them in albums to look forward to this year. But I guess they hadn't put out a note yet that they were releasing. It's a band called Noisem, and the album is Cease to Exist. Now, these guys are back after 4 years.
Yeah, quite some long time.
And they'd built up quite a buzz with their debut album, I remember.
Okay.
So I was surprised where they'd kind of disappeared to. But then the press note mentions that, they went through lineup issues, and now they're down to a trio. But let that not fool you. Listening to this album, they sound even heavier than a 5-piece.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, again, one line I kind of came up with this is thrashy riffs, but with a grindcore pace.
Okay.
And they kind of go through the songs really quick. I mean, if you want to call it, this could be called power violence in a way. I'm not going to be a stickler for tags that you put on the band, but this is definitely not easy listening. But man, what a album. And I'm so glad these guys are back. I can hardly imagine what it's like live, the kind of energy that they exude. And just 3 people, wow, it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm really jealous for those who kind of catching them.
I'm totally all in for trios. I think that's the perfect mix for a band. Not alluding to anything, mind you. Well, maybe I am. Anyways, okay. Next up, here's a very popular pick that we've discussed to no end, but I actually do want to come back to it. I'm talking about Empath, of course. I don't know if you have it on your list.
So I'm just going to add this line in there. Animesh and I didn't share our list before recording this, so this is as like spontaneous as possible. But yeah, I knew at some point Empath would come up. I have it in my list also.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
let's get to it.
Okay. So okay. I'm still processing my thoughts on this one. Okay. And that's totally because Empath came at a time when I was completely fanboying over Devin. Like Devin could do no wrong in my book.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I first heard it, the first spin, everything just sounded so grand and awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. But here's the thing: as I keep spinning this album, I'm beginning to think if I'm overthinking it, and weirdly enough, there are some parts where I find myself forcing myself to really like them.
Yeah. So the thing is, let's get this out of the way. This is not your typical. So anybody who's heard most of Devin's projects so far, this is not something that you'd expect. I mean, I would say he's put like 5 albums in one.
Yeah, completely. Like it's got traces of everything that the Devin Townsend band has done.
Yeah.
It's got traces of everything that he's done. It's got traces of fucking Ziltoid in it too,
Yeah.
even though there's no outright Ziltoid in it.
Yeah. And it was cool. I think when the album first came out, we were trading notes, and you found, like, I think it was why
Yeah.
you were trying to like figure out.
I was trying to figure out because why just that vocal line and the lyrics, it kind of harks back to some of the songs he's done before, and I was trying to see if it was some kind of an Easter egg or not.
Yeah.
But it isn't. It's a completely new song, but it just sounds so much like some of his previous songs that.
Yeah.
But oh my god, why I think is my favorite track from the album is so un-Devin-y Devin.
Yeah. No, and like, of course, the one thing I liked is that he didn't hype. So I kind of, other than the singles, I kind of stayed away from listening to or watching the videos and knowing about the track to track because at some point
I haven't done that.
I want to like, I still haven't watched them, by the way, but it's cool just to kind of listen to the music, and I think to a certain extent that's missing in a way, is that like, with artists like Devin who are kind of quite out there doing the PR and stuff like that, you kind of attach so much more to the music than just the music.
Yeah.
And sometimes
completely.
just listening to the music itself gives you a complete different perspective.
Correct.
So
yeah. So that's what, like, in the first couple of listens, I'd already shoehorned this Empath to be my metal album of the year. But now that I keep revisiting it, it's definitely a contender.
Yeah.
But I don't think at this point I'm ready to best out that tag on it. I mean, we still have the half of the year still ahead of us.
Yeah. I know,
Right?
that's why it's cool that we're doing this, because it's great to like come back and just check our notes or check our thoughts as to how we felt. But yeah, man, I'm also like in the middle ground of sorts with the album, because while it's a very overwhelming listening, I mean,
It is a
very
definite
overwhelming
experience.
listen.
You cannot listen to this one and not pay attention to it. It's not something that you can leave on in the background. It forces you to listen to it,
And
which is great.
And just so much detail.
And there's so many hidden layers. It's like an onion. You keep on peeling layer after layer, and you still won't reach the core. It'll take you a long time to reach the core.
But it's a very, bold move by him, and I can see like what all he talked about in the interviews where he said, and of course, like, just going back to when we saw him, how he kind of talked about the album also. I mean, that last song, by the end of it, you're like, okay, what the hell just
that
happened?
should have been like a separate EP altogether, no?
Yeah.
Singularity.
Yeah.
It should have been single. Okay, so that's Empath. That's something that we both ended up having on our lists.
Yeah. So one less for me to talk about. So my last pick, which I have, is actually a very, very popular album, I think. I've not surprisingly been listening to it a lot in the last month.
Okay.
And of course, this is an album, when we talked about it earlier in the year, I was just wondering how the hell they were going to top off. So,
Wait, what's this?
Periphery.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard it.
So
How is it?
So
I'm
was
genuinely interested.
like, I was a huge fan of Select Difficulty. I mean, I listened to that album so much, all close to I think a daily listen I had to that album. So and I'm putting context to what I'm going to say now is, with albums like that, it's very hard to kind of top. And it is really hard to kind of top albums like that. So that's when, if you go back and listen to the third episode, I said, how the hell are they going to top this album?
Happening.
And yes, I must say.
Is that good?
True. I mean, let's just start off with the first track. Their opening track is a 17-minute track.
Okay, that's fine.
And that's a pretty ballsy move, because I'm thinking, and again, you have to look at it with the context of this is their first album that they're releasing on their own label. Because a traditional label, and with, Sumerian that they used to be on, I don't think they were looking at them kind of pulling off stuff like this. But man, like, even if you listen to the singles and stuff, like, it's strange. The singles are more like heavier.
Okay.
But a lot of the songs that I really enjoy on this album are the ones with like melody and stuff like that.
All right.
And boy, has Spencer kind of like knocked it out of the park with his vocals this time.
Really?
Yeah, I was
because
surprised.
That was always the weak point of Periphery for me.
Yeah, I mean, the album I still struggle to listen to is the first one.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure they did a lot of like work in the studio on it. But yeah, I mean, I do remember seeing Spencer live when they came and played Bangalore, 4 or 5 years back in 87. He is really good, and that's where, like, I think he joined at the second album time. So over the last couple of albums, I've really seen him come into his own of sorts. But yeah, man, let me see what other notes I wrote on there. Yeah, dude. So, one thing with our attention spans and stuff like that, you always like wary and especially when you upfront see that, okay, it's a 17-minute song, am I going to listen to it? I was hooked through the entire thing. I didn't feel it was that long or a tedious listen.
So it's a strong release.
Yeah, very strong release. They've done, and I'm not surprised with how they've kind of, the charts and the response that they've got. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this is going to be, even though it's only been like 4 months into the year, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be listening to it more, and probably going to be one of the albums that I list at the end of the year.
Wow, okay, that's pretty big coming from you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's Periphery's new album. Next...
Sorry. I think I talked so much I forgot it. So the album is Hail Stan, which is a bit of a play on words.
That's so...
and they've done some
That's very Periphery.
Yeah, and they've done some crazy merch.
Their sense of humor is...
Yeah,
it's completely in tune with that.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, cool. My next two picks, and I want to club them together, these aren't really meant for metal purists. So if you are a metal purist, you might as well just fast forward, say, 3 minutes ahead of this podcast. But to those still listening, well, let me put it this way. The podcasts and the guest we speak to all have their own boundaries and definitions of what it means to be metal. And if I were to interpret being metal, well, the two artists that I want to talk about, they certainly do embody that. Enough with that context. First up is Brass Against.
Okay.
I discovered this band through YouTube. Okay, the name, as the name suggests, they're a pure brass-led band. So think saxophones, think horns, yeah, and then it's married to guitars and drums. And there's a motley crew of vocalists, but the one singer that they keep working with a lot is this really awesome singer named Sofia Urista. I hope I got her name right. What they do is covers. Primarily, they do a load of, as the name suggests, Rage Against the Machine songs. They do a couple of Tool songs. They do some Audio Slave. They even do a Pantera. And I think I shared that with you. I don't know if you actually heard it or not, but
no.
I know brass sections and metal don't really seem to mix, but it really, 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 really works. This is an absolute treat to listen to. Highly, highly, highly recommended. Do check them out. It's called Brass Against. Watch them on YouTube.
Okay.
They even have the entire album up on like iTunes and wherever else
Oh,
you
wow.
want to
Okay,
consume
cool.
your music. It's it may sound hipsterish, for lack of a better word, but just look past that, man. The songs themselves are awesome, and these guys managed to bring in the same vibe and the
Right.
same energy that the originals had. Especially even their Pantera cover, man.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, just
I think
just check
that's
them
all
out.
you needed to tell me. Yeah.
Okay. Next up, I'm picking somebody called Billie Eilish.
Okay.
Okay, if that's not a name you're familiar with, well, you're just not hip enough.
All right. Too old school.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'll give you the context for it. I discovered her thanks to WWE because they used one of her songs,
Alright.
which is "You Should See Me in a Crown," as a theme song for one of their shows. It's what I would call dark pop music, but what music review sites, etc., are calling trap or electropop. Now, I don't know what either of those two genres mean,
Okay.
but it sounds like a solo metal record that's not played with a guitar, but with electronic samples.
Right. So,
Okay.
but like synth pop, which is
It's not synth pop actually.
Okay.
Like synth pop is happy.
okay. This is
This isn't happy. Which is why I'm saying this is pretty metal, but it's not metal.
yeah. I mean,
It has a completely metal attitude. And here's the jaw-dropping part. This girl, Billie Eilish, she's 17 years old,
wow.
and she makes songs with her brother, who does most of the instruments, and she sings. She doesn't really sing, but she has a fabulous control of her voice. The songwriting is top fucking notch.
Okay.
Really, really, really good. And the album that I ended up listening to, which is that's a debut album. It's called "When We Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go." It worked as my palate cleanser over the last month or so.
Okay. So, how would you like compare it to like, say, Ghost or your other artists?
Ghost, it's not Ghost. Ghost is synth wave, right?
Okay.
It has that 80s
Yeah.
synth kind of
Yeah.
sound to it, that video gamey kind of an
Yeah,
approach.
yeah.
This isn't that. This
Okay.
is so think. It's not trip hop per se, but I would, from my frame of reference, I would draw it closer to say Massive Attack,
Okay.
but not stuff like Teardrop, which was cheerful, but the other stuff on that album, which wasn't as cheerful and
Alright,
was a
okay.
bit dark. Yeah. Billie
Okay.
Eilish, something definitely to watch out for. I just hope pop music doesn't discover her and make her like
The
forget
next Lady
what she
Gaga.
did. So yeah,
Alright.
so that was it. Nice, very weird mix of
Yeah,
albums
but
and different genres of music.
But that's the cool part about doing something like this on a regular basis is it not only kind of both of us discover new music, but I hope those listening also kind of figure out or find one new artist, if not more.
Yeah. So will you take the trouble of
Yeah. I will.
yeah?
So don't worry, there will be, now that Spotify is in India, there'll be a Spotify playlist, also an Apple playlist. I might do YouTube, I don't know, but like I don't think there's a point in doing Google Play. It's very cumbersome and tedious.
Yeah, I don't like the YouTube Music app either. I mean, it got shoved down my throat when YouTube was keeping on asking me to install it. So I installed it and I tried it, and it sucks.
Okay, I haven't used YouTube Music. I'm still kind of
It's
streaming
not
wise.
user friendly at all. The music curation is very absurd. The one good thing about it is that I don't have to see ads anymore.
Okay, I'm still sticking to Spotify and Apple Music. Google Play kind of lost me as a
Google Play, I've never used. Spotify, I've never used. Apple Music, I
Yeah.
think is pretty good. And of course, Bandcamp.
yeah. Oh yeah.
That's more than,
So-
yeah.
So yeah, just look out for like playlists and all that. I'm gonna list it out. put it under Horns Up Recommend, so we can keep adding to that on a regular basis also.
Cool. Yeah, I think that actually sounds like a good plan. Okay, let's run through some stuff. Quick reactions if you've heard
Okay.
them or not. Talking mostly singles here
All right.
because we don't have the albums. Baroness, Gold and Grey. I just realized, or I read an interview that they were going to call it Orange earlier, but thankfully they didn't. We've heard 2 singles so far, Borderlines and Seasons. I'm completely digging the vibe. Have you checked them out yet?
Yeah, dude, love them. Love everything they do. So yeah, I'm really happy with, and I'm really looking forward to what they've got up their sleeve this time.
Yeah, I'm completely stoked for that album. I know it's not traditional Baroness, and by that I mean the red and the blue record. It's more in line with what they did on Purple.
Yeah.
I'm just digging color theory, man, with Baroness. It's so interesting for people who don't like metal. They
Yeah.
just go in and say, hey, here's Whip Gear. Okay, anyways, Bhayanak Maut are back.
Oh wow, I'm surprised you bring this up because I kind of stayed away from talking about it.
Did you check out the single? Pindakas.
Dude.
Apparently it's peanut butter in some language.
I believe so. The context or the stuff I've read about the material they're going to come up with is this was all inspired by a trip they all took together to Netherlands, Holland, and this is prior to Vinay and Sunny leaving the band. So
Yeah.
I'm really happy that they're going forward with the material.
What did you think of the song?
Okay, so
Putting you on a spot.
let's just say I've listened to the song more than 10 times since it's released, and that's a huge deal. But yeah, man, what surprised me about it now is that there was no doubt that Aman is a good vocalist because I've heard him over the years with Noiseware, but he kind of fills the shoes of Sunny and Vinay quite
I fucking
admirably.
don't think so.
Really?
I miss the Guttural Twins. They were a huge part of what made Bhayanak Maut Bhayanak Maut.
But I think
The
this time-
dual vocals, the two absolutely different vocal sensibilities and styles. You had Vinay who brought in that super low,
Yeah.
gravely kind of a voice, and then you had Sunny doing his thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being too harsh, but this made them a more generic band than what they used to be. Not discounting the instruments, because the instruments are
Still the
on
same.
par with
Everything.
on par with what they've done before.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's a little too early, so probably we don't know who's exactly done because from what at least the promos and everything they put out, I think everyone's doing vocals. It's
Really?
it's not just Aman who's singing on there. I mean, there's some gang parts also, I believe, if I could hear well. So,
There are. I mean,
Yeah.
but
I don't know who's done. So again, maybe the Bhayanak Maut guys can shed some light on this, but I feel like there's more. I think.
I'm divided. I'm not completely sold on this new band yet.
Okay, now I'm going to put you on the spot. What did you think of the melodic parts during the chorus?
Mumele.
No, I'm talking about the whole guitar bits.
So there was that one breakdown when that zero fucks given that lyric comes in, right?
Yeah.
I'm digging the fact that the bass is now prominent up in the mix.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, that I completely understand and that I completely enjoy. Overall, I mean it's on par with what they did on Man. That's what I think. I mean this song itself,
Yeah.
you put it on Man, and it would still sound great on that album. So I necessarily at the moment
Yeah, I mean, see,
don't see a huge evolution or step forward.
Yeah.
The fact that they have that they have a new vocalist, I think it's still going to take time for me to digest that because I am a huge Bhayanak Maut fan. Okay, I've been listening to them since Invitation to Bleed and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Seen them open iRock, God knows how many years before that was.
I mean, see that.
I'm missing Vinay and Sunny.
And I'm not surprised with it because I'm pretty sure, like, Venki and Amit Sia and all are just like shaking their head if they're listening to this because I'm pretty sure they expected a lot of people to say this.
Yeah.
But I would say since I loved Bhayanak Moth live,
Mm-hmm.
the true test for me would be watching them live with the new lineup.
The true test for me, yeah, live they slay. There's no
Yeah.
question about that. I love their studio albums. Both Bhayanak Moth as well as Man were extremely rich listening experiences.
Yeah.
Okay, Man, because of all the stories and all that fabulous artwork, just made it such a wholesome, unique experience.
Yeah.
And everything just lived up to what they were going for.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see that.
I think if
Because live, this is going to be a fucking... Absolutely, you can put it down in writing. Bhayanak Moth will be the biggest or the best live metal act from Bombay.
Yeah.
Maybe even from India in this year.
Yeah. So the thing is, now that you mentioned their first album, the lyric, the one line I wrote on Twitter.
M&S Messenger, no?
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah, but
that kind of a vibe.
it kind of goes back into that vibe. And one thing I really enjoyed with Man is they kind of moved ahead from that.
Correct. Yeah.
So for me, again, sorry guys, we're basing you on a single. This seems like a throwback to that, especially when they start off a song with Muh Mein Le. Come on, you have to. The only thing I could sing along with is "Tu Zaitsa Go." So yeah, yeah, man. So I'm quite excited. There's suddenly because nobody
it's good
knew.
to have them back.
Yeah, no one knew what was happening with the band.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
it's great to see them back.
Yeah.
Let's see what the rest of the songs are like.
Yeah, man. Definitely looking forward. I don't know if they're going to release more singles, EP, but it'll be quite interesting to see.
I think they're hinting at an album. I'm not sure.
Okay, that'll be fun. Just to see how it all comes together and what kind of
So Bionic Moth, if you're listening to this, let's chat.
Yes, we are friendly Animesh and Peter. So
You know us from the scene. We've come and said hi to you a lot of times during gigs.
yeah, so don't be afraid of us.
We won't bite.
All right, I think that's a wrap for us.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Let's call it at that at the moment. I wanted to talk about the Amok Symphony bits, but I think we'll save that for a later show. There's also that weird ass AI tech death thing.
That I think we have to leave for next.
Yeah,
episode.
even that's a huge debate in itself. So yeah, with that, this was episode number 13.
Yeah.
Coming to you from Starbucks in Bombay.
Hashtag not sponsored. But if the marketing manager of Starbucks is listening to this, chance, just hook us up with a few gift
We'll let you
cards.
play. We'll introduce you to Fanj.
Yeah, punch.
Okay, so you know where to find us. We are at HonsupPod on Twitter. I am at Asmo Ani.
And I'm Trend Crusher.
And till next time, horns up.
All right, horns up, guys.